Imagine waking up tomorrow and discovering that you have to move through the world on all fours. Every trip to school, every walk to work, every climb up a staircase would become exhausting. Yet millions of years ago, our ancestors did the exact opposite. They stood up, took their first uncertain steps on two legs, and unknowingly changed the future of life on Earth forever. But why would any creature abandon the speed and stability of walking on four legs? Stay until the end, because the final discovery completely changes how we think about ancient humans. At first, the answer seems obvious. Maybe walking upright simply made humans faster or stronger. But scientists have learned that the truth is far more surprising. In fact, standing on two legs created new dangers before it created new advantages. So why would evolution favor such a risky choice? To understand the mystery, we have to travel back millions of years to a world that looked nothing like the one we know today. Vast forests that once covered huge parts of Africa were beginning to shrink. The climate was changing. Rainfall became less predictable. Thick jungles slowly gave way to open woodlands and grassy plains. For our distant ancestors, this was more than a change in scenery. It was a fight for survival. Imagine searching for food in a landscape where fruit trees are scattered miles apart instead of growing close together. Every day becomes a journey. Every journey burns precious energy. Every mistake could mean going hungry. At first, our ancestors probably still moved much like modern apes. They climbed trees, knuckle-walked on the ground, and escaped danger by rushing back into the branches. But as forests disappeared, spending more time on open ground became unavoidable. That is when something remarkable may have started to happen. Standing upright allowed an individual to see over tall grass. A predator hiding nearby became easier to spot. A distant fruit tree became easier to find. Even a small improvement in seeing the landscape could mean the difference between life and death. But seeing farther was only the beginning. Walking on two legs also changed how the body used energy. It may seem strange, but moving upright across long distances can actually be more energy efficient than moving on all fours for creatures built like our ancestors. In a world where every calorie mattered, saving even a little energy each day could become a huge advantage over thousands of generations. Yet evolution is never free. The first upright walkers were not graceful. Their bodies were caught between two different worlds. They still climbed trees, but they also spent increasing amounts of time walking on the ground. Their skeletons slowly began to change. Their hips shifted. Their legs grew stronger. Their feet became more stable. Their spine developed new curves to balance the body. None of these changes happened overnight. They unfolded over countless generations, one tiny step at a time. But here's where the story becomes even more fascinating. The moment our ancestors no longer needed their front limbs for walking, their hands became available for something completely different. Imagine crossing a dry landscape while carrying food back to your family instead of eating it immediately. Imagine holding a sharp stone. Imagine picking up a sturdy branch before facing a dangerous animal. Suddenly, your hands are no longer just for climbing. They become survival tools. This simple change opened possibilities that few other animals could match. Free hands allowed our ancestors to gather more food, transport valuable resources, and eventually create increasingly sophisticated tools. Those tools made hunting easier, processing food safer, and survival more reliable. But there was another invisible advantage hiding in plain sight. Under the blazing African sun, staying cool could mean staying alive. A body standing upright exposes less surface area directly to the strongest overhead sunlight than one moving on all fours. At the same time, being higher above the hot ground may have helped the body lose heat more effectively when combined with sweating, allowing longer journeys across open landscapes. Longer journeys meant reaching new food sources. New food sources meant better nutrition. Better nutrition supported larger brains. And larger brains changed everything. Of course, this doesn't mean that walking upright instantly created intelligent humans. Evolution doesn't work like flipping a switch. Instead, one useful adaptation often creates opportunities for another. Walking on two legs freed the hands. Free hands encouraged tool use. Better tools improved survival. Better survival supported new behaviors. Over immense spans of time, these small advantages added up. Still, bipedal walking came with serious costs. Walking on two legs places enormous pressure on the lower back, hips, knees, and feet. Even today, millions of people experience back pain because the human spine balances an upright body in ways that evolved gradually rather than perfectly. Childbirth also became more challenging. As the pelvis adapted for efficient walking, giving birth became more difficult than it is for most other primates. Human babies are born relatively helpless, requiring years of care and protection. Why would evolution accept these disadvantages? Because evolution never creates perfection. It only favors traits that improve the chances of surviving long enough to reproduce. If the overall benefits outweigh the costs, even an imperfect solution can spread through an entire species. And that's exactly what seems to have happened. Over millions of years, upright walking became more refined. Legs lengthened. Feet developed arches that acted like natural springs. The big toe aligned with the others, creating a stronger push with every step. The body became increasingly specialized for covering long distances across changing environments. This ability helped our ancestors explore new territories that many other animals could not reach so efficiently. They followed rivers, crossed grasslands, adapted to unfamiliar climates, and gradually expanded into new parts of the world. Every migration told the same story. One step, then another, then another. Eventually, those footsteps carried humans across continents. But perhaps the greatest surprise is that walking on two legs was never just about movement. It changed the way we interacted with each other. Carrying food made sharing possible. Carrying infants became easier over long distances. Carrying tools encouraged planning instead of simply reacting. Life slowly shifted from surviving one moment at a time to preparing for the future. That may be one of the most important turning points in our entire evolutionary history. Today, we barely think about standing up. We walk through cities, climb mountains, chase dreams, and explore the planet without realizing that every step connects us to ancestors who faced a completely different world. Their decision wasn't conscious. They never planned to reshape history. They simply survived in changing environments, generation after generation, while evolution quietly rewrote the human body. The next time you stand up and take a single step, remember that you're repeating a journey that began millions of years ago, a journey that transformed curious primates into explorers, inventors, storytellers, and ultimately into us. But the mystery doesn't end there. Scientists have found something even more surprising. Walking on two legs didn't immediately make our ancestors the rulers of the planet. For hundreds of thousands of years, they were still prey. Giant cats, crocodiles, hyenas, and other predators saw them as easy meals. Every trip across the open grasslands was a gamble. Every strange sound in the distance could mean death. So why didn't they return to the safety of the trees? Because by then, evolution had already started opening new doors. Groups that worked together could spot danger earlier. One individual could keep watch while others searched for food. Carrying sticks, stones, or gathered plants became easier with free hands. Survival slowly became less about individual strength and more about teamwork. This may have been one of the first steps toward the social behavior that defines humans today. As generations passed, upright walking also changed the way our ancestors explored the world. Instead of staying close to one familiar area, they could travel farther in search of water, fresh hunting grounds, and seasonal food. Every successful journey revealed new landscapes, new challenges, and new opportunities. Imagine seeing a distant hill on the horizon and deciding to find out what lies beyond it. That simple curiosity may have changed the course of human history. Over millions of years, those journeys became longer and more ambitious. Small groups gradually spread beyond their original homes, adapting to deserts, forests, mountains, and eventually icy landscapes that their earliest ancestors could never have imagined surviving. And here's the incredible part. Every marathon ever run, every mountain ever climbed, every city ever built, and every footprint ever left on another continent traces back to one ancient evolutionary change. Without walking on two legs, humans might never have become the great travelers of Earth. Even our greatest achievement, setting foot on the moon, began with those first uncertain steps taken by ancient ancestors across the African landscape millions of years ago. That's an astonishing thought. The ability that now feels completely ordinary once represented one of the biggest survival experiments in the history of life. And against all odds, it worked.